In the past, we've always used posts whenever we're creating these large sites, mainly because WordPress had a certain limitation that if you used a certain number of pages, it would work, but it will lock up your admin area. You wouldn't be able to do anything in the back end admin of WordPress. It would just take forever to load and end up timing out and just give you a ton of issues. Recently, I started doing some testing, and it turns out that that was addressed in one of the WordPress update. So we're able to use pages. Now, one of the neat things about pages is that you can assign parent pages. And so in this latest SERPShaker update, I took advantage of that parent page type setup to where we can create some pretty neat directory type setups and some pretty neat silos using pages. So I wanted to create a video to kind of show how it all works together so that people can kind of wrap their head around the whole setup. So I'm just going to use a combination of SS Local and Shaker pages here to kind of create a quick little directory site so you can see how it works. Now the first thing we need to do in order for this to work is, we're relying on the permalinks. So if we head on over to settings permalinks, just make sure you've got the actual post name in the permalink itself. So if we do post name, that should work there. And then I'm going to head on over to Shaker pages, and what we're going to do is we're in essence going to create two separate Shaker pages. One's going to be a Shaker page for the parent. So let's say we want to divide it up like we've done in the past using categories. We've used the categories for the states in order to kind of create the mini silos for each state. So we're going to want to go ahead and create the category or the page for the state. And so I'm going to go ahead and add a new page. Let's say that we're going to do a website on local pawn shops. So I'm going to go ahead and do um, something like I'm going to for the this remember this part up here controls the slug, which is just the URL of the web page, and then down below is where we can set up the post title. So for slug, I'm going to keep it nice and clean, and I'm just going to use state only. Now, I'll show what the state only shortcode would be and how you would use that different than your typical just state. So I'm going to do state only here, and um, over here I'm going to put the H1 post title. So I'm going to do, pawn shops in state only. Once again, I'm not using state. I'm going to create a specific shortcode that's just going to have the listing for the states only. And if you want to set up SEO title, SEO description, you can. These are basically just going to be like the directory type pages. They're not going to have much content, or at least I'm not going to set them up with much content. Make sure that you have them as pages. And then as far as content goes, I've introduced a few new shortcodes that make it easy to set up this directory silo type setup that I'm talking about. And so the first one of these is going to be these sub pages. And so basically what this is going to do is just that, basically list the sub pages that are associated with this parent page. The parent page is going to be the state page. All the child pages are going to be the individual cities in that state. So whenever I insert this subpages shortcode, it's going to list those subpages there. And then you can also do next page, previous page if you like to also interconnect these state pages. So all the states will be interlinked, and it will also have links going to we can do something like next page, and so I'm going to say go to next page. If I want to use keywords here, you can use keywords there, or and then previous page, go to previous page and just insert. And I'm just inserting these here so you can see how everything will end up looking. So we've got the previous page, we've got the sub pages, next page, we've got all that. So then as far as state only, what we need to do is head on over to shortcodes. I'm going to open it here in a new tab actually. And so I've got my city, my state short as usual, but I need to create one that's just the states. Basically, I've got the states here, but they're all repeating because we need to match them up one by one. So what I do, just to make things easier, is in a new tab, I'm going to head on over to text mechanic. We're going to do the remove duplicate lines. And so copying all these short codes, We can just bring them over here and paste them in. Just scroll back up to the top, remove duplicate lines. And so you're going to be left over with the state list, and it removed all the duplicates. So that's just an easy, quick way of doing it. Making sure that you get all just the single ones, no duplicates. I'm going to copy this again, head on over to our shortcodes page here. I'm going to add a new shortcode and call it state only. So this is where the state only comes in. And so basically this, only has the 51 lines, and that way when we create our shaker page over here with state only, it's only going to build those 51 pages. And so I've got everything set up here. Make sure that we do have pages here. Just double check one more time. And then we can go ahead and save this draft so that we can build the pages in post. So I save it. Let's go to build pages in post. And it should do it pretty quickly because it's just doing 51 pages. If we head on over to pages, I opened it up here in a new page. We're going to see all these pages here. Let's go ahead and take a look at one of these. So all we're going to see right now is just the previous page and the next page link. We do have the sub pages shortcode in there, but since there are no sub pages, there's nothing to show. But if you do click on these, it should take you to the next page, previous page. And so obviously, you can add content to these as you want. These will be what would be considered the top page in a directory. You've got just the Alabama. It's going to list all the cities in Alabama that you've got in your shortcodes whenever we do build those pages. So let's go ahead and build those child pages so you know how to do that. So if we're going to go back over to the shaker pages, we've got our state only shaker page. Let's go ahead and add a new shaker page, and this time we'll do the city state short type setup. So I'm going to do city state short here, and let's go ahead and name it pawn shops in city state short. I'm not going to bother with the other stuff there. As far as content, I'm just going to keep it simple, and I'm going to use SS local to pull in some local data, some local businesses, so that it can actually be a legitimate directory type setup. And so I'm going to use Yelp listings. The location is going to be city state short. The business type, pawn shops. We'll leave it at 10. Go ahead and do the same thing for Google so we can use both different data sets. Pawn shops. And if we wanted to add things such as like weather or any of the other things, we could do that as well. I'm going to go ahead and throw the weather down at the bottom. City state short. And the main thing in order to set up the relationship from the parent to child is let me switch this over to pages here so that we can see this. We're going to look for this set page parent. And so what this is looking for is it's looking for the title, the page title that is supposed to be the page parent. And so if we go back over to our pages listing, we'll see that the title, even though the slug is just the state, we take a look at the slug. Actually, you can't see it here in the video, but the slug is just the state. The title is this whole thing right here. So we got to make sure we use that whenever we create our shaker page. So over here, the title would be pawn shops in state. And we are using the full state here because it's going to basically when it goes through and we've got to set up the shortcodes 1 to 1. It's going to use the correct state for each correct city, that kind of thing. But the title that we use for our parent was pawn shops in state. So we got to set that up there so that it knows to associate it correctly with that particular parent. Now once we've got that set up, we've telling it to use parents. We're going to use a page. Let's go ahead and save this draft. I'm gonna do, let's just create 500 so it doesn't have to go run through the whole list of 15,000. And let's tell it to build these pages in post. Okay, so it built the 500. Now we're gonna back over to pages. I'm gonna go ahead and reload this page here. And now we'll see that we've got the parent page, which is pawn shops in Alabama, and then we've got these children that are all the cities in Alabama. And obviously it didn't go through and create every single one because we only created 500. But if I skip through, we should find a few different. I think the list is set up to go in order, so I just probably just stuck to the state of Alabama for most of these. Yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. I'm gonna go ahead and look at this page. And so we see here, before it only showed the next previous post or next page, previous page, but now it actually shows each of the individual city pages here. I'm assuming 500 of them. Let's go to the next state and see if it did get to Alaska. So it did get to do some of the Alaska, Arizona. Oh, I got to quite a few of these. So it stopped right at California because that's where it reached the 500. But I got to do quite a few of these, so you see that they're fully listed there. You've got the nice, if you were to look at the slug, I don't have it showing here in the video, but we've got the state, just the state by itself in the URL. And then if we click on one of these, you can see down here in the bottom left corner here in the video, you'll see that it's got the state name and then also the city. So let's click on one of these and see. And so we've got the business results coming in from Yelp. We've got the business results coming in from Google. So we've got all the different businesses there. And then the weather, like we put on there. Now, one of the things that I forgot to put in here is we do have an option to display kind of like random pages that are related, and their relationship is based on the parent. So if we go back to our Shaker page, I'm going to go ahead and hit delete build pages and post, and we'll wait a little bit for that to delete so we can actually rebuild some of these. Okay, it's deleted the ones we built because I wanted to add this related pages shortcode. This related pages shortcode also goes based on the parent page title, not the slug, the title. So we're going to do pawn shops in state. That's the title. So I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And we'll go ahead and put in, let's give it like a heading. So other cities in state. Alright, let's go ahead and let's tell it to build 100 this time. Oops, I think I had to save draft first. And then build pages and post. Okay, now we go back to the page listings. And let's take a look at one of these. And so we've got our pawn shop here, or results from Google. But then we also have our weather, and then we've got the other cities. So it inserts 5 links to other surrounding areas that have the same parent. So it's only going to be links to other cities in Alabama that have the same parent. And if you reload it, every single time it's going to show you a different set of 5. So this helps greatly with indexing as well. So not only do you have the full silo setup where you've got the state page, then the actual city page, but you've also got these interlinking between pages, and which you can also do the next page, previous page type setup in here as well if you wanted to. But I found that this interlinking here, this random one, is more than enough. I prefer to leave the next page, previous page, to be at the higher level, which is the parent page level. And you can obviously, go deeper with this if you wanted to. If you wanted to do the state and then the county and then the cities, you could do that. Just be an extra step of setting it up. You always start with with the first one first. Like if you want to do state first and build those out first, then build out the county pages and then build out the city pages if you wanted to do it like that. In my testing, I've only gone state to city, and that's worked out well enough.